So I'm so glad that you're doing the research that you're doing and identifying not only the slave owners, but the work that they were doing as planters and the wealth that they were getting as being a planter or from being a planter.
Yeah, 100%. I agree so much with that statement, and if I could respond to a couple different portions of it, you mentioned like George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and James Madison. You know what I mean? Like it is a fact that I think when I was in first grade, what I learned about George Washington was that he chopped down a cherry tree that he ought not have chopped down. And when his father came home, he told the truth about it. And I think another myth is that he threw a silver dollar, across a river. And both of these stories are completely apocryphal. You know what I mean? Didn't even happen. And so even when you really understand the dynamics of the planter class and the aristocracy and how it was an institution that you married into and your connection to family was everything, the very reason that Robert E. Lee decided, no, I'm not going to lead the Union armies. I'm going to go and fight for my home state, Virginia. And by the way, my family that is part of this institution, because it makes you reflect on American history in a kind of a different way. They were already gone, but it makes you think, well, what would have happened had Washington and Jefferson and Madison been around for the beginning of the Civil War? And to me, I realize it's not even a question of like, would you have sided with the Union? Would you have sided with the South? I think people side with their family. The idea that George Washington would lead an army against Virginia is in my mind, completely preposterous. You know what I mean? So it just, when you realize how powerful that syndicate was, it just, for me, it raises questions about some of the myths that we were taught about, what was present in the classroom, what was missing in the classroom, and why, kind of makes me curious about those things. And I think Hilton Head history is like, to me, it's so ground zero almost about what it means to be an American in 2025. It just it floored me that Kendrick Lamar brought up 40 acres and a mule, in the Super Bowl like show, and that like searches for it were all over the place on Google the next day. And just realizing like, yeah, that's the Sea Islands, that's like here, all these things. Cause, I one of the reasons I wrote a screenplay about the islands history is because I realized there is no amount of debate that is going to persuade people that don't want to be persuaded.